There we go. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June Fire Safe Council Town Hall. We do this every single month on the third Thursday of the month. My name is David Barrett. I'm with MySafe LA. We have a number of our members on tonight. Captain Chris Neville, our county coordinator, Carl Ginsberg, our research and outreach analyst, Victoria Garcia, our Valley County coordinator, Greg Doyle, and we may have one or two others from our shop join us. We have a number of folks from the Los Angeles City Fire Department joining us, as well as a wide array of people from the community. And we have a special guest tonight from the state's Department of Insurance, Julia Juarez. The California Department of Insurance is obviously an important player in what we're attempting to do, and we're excited to have them here. As we get started this evening, I would just remind everyone that we're all here to try and find good solutions and to collaborate. And to that end, we would ask that civility be at the forefront of everything we do. Ms. Juarez is here to give us information, to learn from us, and to figure out what might be done to help make things better in the future. We're not here to have a debate. That's possible for a different forum, but for tonight, this is all about education for everyone. So please keep that in mind as we get started and move forward. If you're looking for wildfire information related to anything that you're not certain about, don't forget to visit us online, mysafela.org/wildfire. Our website is updated all the time. We've actually added some important stuff about contractors that you can use to help harden your home and create defensible space. We're adding a lot of good information during the course of the next 3 weeks or so. So make sure that once a month or so you check in on the website and see what might be new and be valuable to you. So our agenda tonight, some opening remarks, an update on the Wildfire Alliance, MySafe and the LAFD's effort to improve resilience in the community. Then we will have our guest speaker. The fire that we're going to discuss tonight is the Sayre fire. If anyone who is on the call tonight lives in the Oak Ridge Mobile Home Park or was affected by the Sayre fire, you may have an opportunity to share a few words, if you will, about your experience there. And we'll mention future scheduling, including the opportunity for everyone to become CERT trained and how that is important for your community. We're also going to discuss our wildfire symposium at our next meeting. So in the fall, we're going to have a Saturday day where you have an opportunity to see fire apparatus, to meet the people who would help harden your home and create defensible space. There'll be a lot of prizes, there'll be food, it'll be a really fun Saturday in the early part of the fall. So that's kind of what our agenda is like tonight. Here's our update that I could share with you. The California acting fire marshal, and my hope is that he becomes the permanent fire marshal. I've known Chief Berlant for 15 years, and he is a remarkable individual, completely committed to making the state safer from wildfire. And he just had an opportunity day before yesterday to present to the Joint Hearing Insurance and Emergency Management Committee for the state, discussing exactly what CAL FIRE has been doing and explaining to the state why they need to do more to help. The state has invested about $2.7 billion towards wildfire resiliency. And as everyone knows, mitigation is hugely important. And everything that we're doing here is designed to make your home safer, make communities safer. Chief Berlant will actually be in Southern California on June the 30th. So anything that we need to convey to him, we want to be able to do that as a group. He's been a terrific asset to the state and a terrific ally of ours. And I just thought everyone should know that he's working every day to try and make sure that the latest possible stuff can happen. Also, I would tell everyone that our wildfire survey is now live. This is an important survey because it gives you an opportunity to not only tell us what your situation is, but to be able to share any opinions you may have or things that you may need. MySafeLA.org/wildfire. The survey is right at the top of the page, and it doesn't take too long. It's a great way for you to be able to express yourself. When we talk about a town hall like this or other kinds of meetings. People can share their opinions, but they don't have the veracity that seeing something in writing has. So the importance of this survey is that we're actually able to take perhaps several thousand homeowners and distill their needs and their opinions into something that can be used by the LA City Fire Department, LA County Fire Department, CAL FIRE, Angeles National Forest, all the people who are affected by very high fire severity zones in California generally, and specifically in the greater Los Angeles area. If you have a chance, it's about a 15-minute amount of your time, but please consider taking the survey. It's interesting and helpful, and we would greatly appreciate it. So let's have a brief update on our alliance and where we're going with it. As you can see, this is a shot looking into Hollywood, and not only do we have a lot of narrow, curvy roads, actually this is up looking into Bel Air, but there's just a lot of homes, and these homes need to be protected, and that's exactly why we're doing this. To date, we have 16 homeowners associations engaged with us. That's 8,450 homes that are affected overall, and 33,990 people within those 8,450 homes. Our target for the year is 30 homeowners associations and 20,000 homes and 58,000 people. One thing that it's important to share with you is that a homeowners association is often really excited about becoming part of this because they have a responsibility to all the people that live within the HOA. But very often homeowners themselves, they don't understand why they should be involved. They don't necessarily want to be involved. And it's our job to make this of interest and to make it exciting. We are not here to tell anyone what they have to do. Everything that we're here to share with you is about resilience and preparation. It is not to insist on anything. It's to make you aware of things and how, if you take certain steps, it would be beneficial to you. Last month, we had very good information on the LA City Fire Code as it relates to brush. And there are fines and things involved, but that's not us that is enforcing that. That's the city. But you need to know about it so that you can be prepared and avoid any kind of problems. So as some of you who've been involved or are involved know, we can help create a threat assessment for your HOA to NFPA standards. We do home evaluations and checklists for improvement. We have workshops that teach improvement tactics for defensible space and home hardening and so on. Resources so that there are people you can hire that can help you. We have a number of marketing efforts underway to help get traction within every HOA. And we can make contributions to your own individual wildfire committee meetings and generate ultimately support so that you can become a fire safe council. So that's just some of the ways that MySafe LA is able to assist you. So having said that, our guest tonight is Julia Juarez. Carl, you want to tell everyone about our relationship and Julia?
Sure, thank you, David. We appreciate you being here this evening, Ms. Juarez. We're so happy to have you. Obviously, insurance is a very big question mark right now throughout the state, and especially here in Los Angeles. The rates have gone up. Insurance companies are leaving. So we're hoping that you can answer some questions for us and give you some guidance. So to introduce Ms. Juarez, Julia Juarez leads the California Department of Insurance Community Relations and Outreach Branch. Since her appointment by Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara, the department has met with hundreds of thousands of consumers throughout the state who have been adversely affected by the state's unprecedented wildfires, floods, earthquakes, and of course the pandemic. Julia leads the department's expanded efforts to assist wildfire survivors, local governments, small businesses, and consumers in assessing the department's many services. So welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. I would like to share my screen. So if I am allowed to do that, here we are. Okay, I hope everyone gets to see that.
Yes,
So
lovely.
you see, okay, great. So it is a pleasure for me to be here today. I want to get started just to tell you a little bit more about the Department of Insurance. A lot of people especially during the time that we hear and we hear a lot of things, in the news and a lot of misinformation out there as well. I want to make sure that that we all understand, what the role of the Department of Insurance is, and so I. The Department of Insurance is led by Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara, and the very first and foremost thing that we really work on is protecting consumers from fraud and abuse. So we have a very large department. There are 1,400 employees within the Department of Insurance that work on ensuring that consumers are not victims of fraud and abuse. And we regulate the all lines of insurance, well, most lines of insurance, and maintain insurer solvency. So basically, making absolutely sure that insurance companies can pay their share of what it is that they need to pay when there is anything, a claim that comes to them. So we do set standards for agents and broker licensing. So we oversee all of the agents and brokers in the state. And we perform market conduct reviews. So we ensure that insurance companies are doing what they said they're going to do and that they are doing right by the consumer. And of course, a large part of what we do is we resolve consumer complaints. So when you are having any type of issue with any type of insurance, we are there and able to work with you and work with the insurance company, and most times be able to uh, come to something that is works for both the consumer and the insurance company. So we are very much so involved in that. And so we also investigate and prosecute insurance fraud. But the one thing that we are not allowed to do and cannot because of our Proposition 103 is we cannot require or compel insurance companies to sell insurance to anyone. So that is, we don't tell insurance companies, that they absolutely have to do that. So what CDI, the Department of Insurance, California Department of Insurance, I call it CDI, so I interchangeably, so that uh, you know, we have been meeting. When Commissioner Lara came on board in 2019, we took our staff out of Sacramento and out of Los Angeles, and we went out and started meeting with the communities in their local areas. We have gone to every single county in the state and have met with people to find out what were the biggest issues that they were having with their insurance. And of course, the biggest thing that we always found was the availability and affordability of insurance, homeowners insurance in particular. And now we are hearing also about some auto insurance as well. So we went and had those conversations with people. Sometimes they were very difficult conversations because there were some people who were having a very hard time, particularly after the 2017 and 2018 fires that decimated some communities throughout the state. We realized and very very easily understood that wildfires are not a Northern California issue or an issue for areas that are out in the boonies and for per se, but rather this is a whole state issue. Wildfire does affect everyone. And so we are very much so involved in working and talking to folks and understanding what the issues are and trying to find solutions with local communities. So far, what we have been able to do, we have been working on these issues. And one of the very first things that we did, we think of folks when there is an accident, we go and we take care of, very first thing, like what's bleeding, right? Like this, let's make sure that we take care of the things that are immediate. And very much so the things that were immediate for people who were victims of wildfires was making sure that they had their expenses taken care of for evacuations. We learned that there were some insurance companies that were saying, well, you evacuated, you were gone for several days, but your house didn't catch on fire, so there's no need for you to have any money to take care of your expenses during that time. And when you are evacuated for days and you have to figure out what to do, and can't really have access to your home, there are expenses that insurance companies should be taking care of. So we made absolutely sure that that was part of the work that we took care of. We extended the additional living expenses for people as well. Insurance companies were very much so just coming and saying, well, this is how much we have set, in place for everyone, and this is all that everyone will get. Well, there were times when people, particularly for folks that were in a big fire, for instance, with the Paradise Fire, when people were gone for several months at a time and could not, even if their home, even if they could come back to their home, there was no water or electricity or gas that they could access, and so it wasn't possible for them to use their home. And so we were made absolutely sure that those things were taken care of as well. And then we made sure that all disclosures were there to meet the upgraded building codes, because a lot of us, have purchased our homes, and we look, maybe you purchased your homes, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and between then and now, there are huge changes in building codes, and so we made absolutely sure that there were disclosures, that there was coverage for those upgraded building codes for when you rebuild your home as well. Along with that, the Commissioner Lara, when he was in the Senate, he wrote a law that did not allow insurance companies to just drop you immediately after a fire, because what was happening was they would say, okay, well, there's a fire here, this is obviously not a good investment for us, so we're out. And then homeowners were scrambling to try to figure out what to do. And at a time when you are already scrambling to take care of your home, to rebuild or do whatever it is that you need to do, it is not a time for you to be also looking for insurance. Insurance should be taking care of you at that time. So Commissioner Lara made sure that uh, consumers were able to use their insurance at least for a whole year after a fire, after a declared emergency from the governor, so that we can make absolutely sure that those homes that were part of that fire, but then also the homes that were surrounding that area, also got that moratorium, so that insurance companies could not just drop you. So we had the non-renewals, the moratorium for non-renewals, and to date, we have more than 4 million people that have been protected with that. And if you are having some issues with that, or try to figure out if you qualify for any of that, we do have that capability in our website for you to look up your zip code and your address and find out if what is it that you could qualify for on that end as well. Um, Along with that, we increased the non-renewal notice, because insurance companies were also just non-renewing folks, and were not giving them enough time to actually go and look for other insurance and do their appropriate shopping. So we increased that as well to 75 days. So those are just the general things that we were able to work on immediately when we were talking with folks who are wildfire survivors. We also worked on the FAIR Plan. The FAIR Plan was created in the 60s during the Watts riots, way back then. And they were very much so created for an actual, for those communities that could not find insurance during that time. However, the FAIR Plan now, because of all these different shifts in the market, is now the insurer of last resort for many people throughout the state. So we had to work with them to increase the ability for them to do more work in local communities. The FAIR Plan is the insurers of last resort, but it is also an organization that is run by the insurance companies. And so insurance companies basically pull money into the FAIR Plan, and then people are able to use that, as an insurance until they find the appropriate insurance for them. So it is not necessarily the best insurance that you could get at all, but it is supposed to just be a backstop for you to be able to, have time to find the appropriate insurance. And so a lot of people are using that. So we were able to increase the availability of that from, for business owners and for homeowners, at least double some of that coverage that we had in the past as well. So we have been working on that. So improving the FAIR Plan has been, continues to be something that we absolutely are focusing on. The commissioner wanted to make absolutely sure that because the FAIR Plan is the insurer of last resort, that it provided a complete insurance for consumers. So the FAIR Plan came back to us and said, well, no, because then we would be competing with all the other insurance, and so they decided to sue instead. Even though we have won several, parts of this lawsuit, we are still working with them. We're still going through the process because that they do not believe that it would be helpful for the consumer. The way that the FAIR Plan works right now is the FAIR Plan is only a wildfire type of insurance, and you would have to get a difference in conditions policy outside of the FAIR Plan to cover all the other things that you would need to cover for insurance as well as for your dwelling. So that is why, then maybe insurance, let's say an insurance company would then say you have to go to the FAIR Plan. The FAIR Plan would charge you sometimes much more. I mean, maybe double, triple of what the insurance company was charging you, and then you still had to buy a difference in conditions policy. So it would be double, double insurance, but less, like a double price for the insurance, but less coverage for the consumer. So it is not necessarily, not fair at all for the consumer. So we are continuing to work on that. We will continue to work on it until we find a solution with this. But wanted to also let you know that on July 13th of last year, the commissioner did hold a FAIR Plan hearing to basically look through, like, what are the issues that people are having with the FAIR Plan, because it is now being used so widely throughout the state. So there were many things that we were looking into, and one of the biggest things was that the commercial coverage for the FAIR Plan was very low. So we were able to come together with a FAIR Plan, and uh, rather than going back and forth and getting sued again, what we did was decided to work with a FAIR Plan and try to come up with what works. And so we were able to increase that commercial coverage to 20 million. So now HOAs that, in the past weren't able to even use the FAIR Plan will at least be able to have that insurance available. They would most likely still, have to purchase a difference in conditions policy and, through other means, but at least the first $20 million they will be able to get, to purchase through the FAIR Plan. So we continue to engage with the FAIR Plan, continue to engage with local communities, local agencies, the state, county officials, and any group that we can work with to try to find solutions to the problems that people are having. And if you are part of an HOA and you're having, issues with your policy, and you would like the department to look at it, I urge you to have your legal representative contact the department, and we will review your policy with you and try to find, try to work with you and the insurance company to find solutions together. So I want to make sure that you're aware that you can reach us and that we are able to work with you directly on that. We have experts at the department that just focus on that type of work, and that can certainly help with that. Now, one of the things that the commissioner did as well was he gathered all of the agencies in the governor's office that worked on wildfires, and you know, like many agencies, everyone was working on the issue, but on their own and in their own little silos, right, in their own little areas. And so, what the commissioner did is he brought all of those agencies together to try to find something that all of us can work on and to see, how can we mitigate this risk, because at the end of the day what insurance companies were telling us was the risk is too high and we can't afford this risk. So that's why we're doing non-renewals. That's why we're holding back. And so what these agencies did is within, we took quite some time to get everyone together, but we came up with very specific things that consumers can do so that and communities could do so that we can then get the insurance companies engaged in the mitigation process so that then we bring down the risk. And if we bring down the risk, then the expectation is that insurance companies then will be able to, then start providing more insurance. So on that, we were able to put together the Safer from Wildfires framework. And what that is basically making sure that we are protecting the structure. There are very specific things. So I have them listed here, and I can certainly, after this, I will certainly share the information with you on the website that you all can look at as well. But it's very specific things. It is not, just a general, just be safer, or be, or mitigate, but rather it's very specific things are listed. So class A roof, maintaining 5 feet ember resistant zones around your home. Those are very, very specific things that you could do as a consumer. And the next thing is protecting the immediate surroundings around you, making sure that there is no vegetation around your home, and there's a 30 feet distance between that, just to make sure that you are you're clear that there is no way that when embers come your way that something can easily burn and get to you. And then the last thing is working as a community together. Because what happens is, even if you do all this great work and you put all of this together and your home is safe, if your neighbor across the street or your neighbor next door has an overrun, you know, uh, you know, area with all kinds of bushes and dead trees and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't matter if your home is completely safe, because then if that catches on fire, it will certainly come your way. So the idea is that communities work together so that they all can then make sure that the entire area is mitigated. Because what we have seen is that insurance companies, of course, when they look at how do they cover an area, they, at times in the past, they will come to your home, check it out, and do, make sure that, they knew exactly what you were doing. Well, now it changed. And so there are times when they're just looking at like just general zip codes or general drone, information, and that's it. And they're not coming over to see you. Well, if your home is great, is safe, but the neighborhood around you is completely unsafe, you're still not going to be able to get what you need for the insurance. So those were the things that's why we were able to put together very specific things there around joining a Firewise community, so that when all of you work together to help to decrease that risk, it will help the entire area, the entire community to do better. So along with that, the commissioner then, once that was taken care of, the commissioner then put some regulations together, working with everyone. He brought everyone to the table and worked on some the regulations for the insurance companies. And basically, what it is that if consumers work on their risk and mitigate the risk the way that we are looking at with those specific things that were listed in the local community work, if they do all of that work, then insurance companies would have to provide discounts for the homeowners or the businesses for hardening their homes and hardening their communities. Along with that, we also put in the regulation that we expect transparency around wildfire risk score. I don't know if many of you, when you were talking to your insurance companies, the insurance companies would say, well, your wildfire risk score is just not it's just not good, and so that's why we would have to non-renew. Well, when you would come back to the insurance companies and say, well, what is my wildfire risk score, and they will give you a number and say, well, how did you come to that? They would all say, we can't share that with you because that's proprietary information. And that in itself was, not even the Department of Insurance was able to look at that. And so now with this regulation, we are able to look at that, and insurance companies have to share with you what your wildfire risk score is and how the insurance company then was able to come to that conclusion. And the amazing thing about this is that you will also now have the ability to appeal that risk, that wildfire risk score. So you are able to come in and say, no, I have done all of this work. So review this with us or review this with me. And if you have some issues with that, you can call the Department of Insurance and we can help you with that as well. So what we did, we held a public hearing on April 13th of last year, and we also had the regulations approved as of October 14th of last year, and insurance companies had until April 12th of this year to submit their plans for new rate regulations and how they're going to incorporate all of this into their new rates. And so they have been turning in all of their information. We have been working with them, and and every month we are new rates are being posted in our rate filings have been posted in our website, so you are able to look at that to see if your insurance company has submitted their plans and what does that mean for you. So that is, we see that the framework has been working. The insurance companies have been, figuring this out with us. This is going to take some time. It is not something that happens overnight. But when we first started this in 2019, we only had a few companies who were actually doing discounts for mitigation, who were actually working with our consumers. And between then and last year, we had a huge number of insurance companies who were actually putting this in place. And so by the end of this whole process, we expect that by the end of this year, by the end of the fall of this year, we will have every single company in the state that is providing homeowners insurance to be able to provide that service and be able to give credit for those mitigations that are being taken place in those communities. And we are also going to be able to have very transparent information as to what it is that they're doing and why we're being charged what we're being charged, and what and also whatever we do to help bring down that risk to be also taken into account with what we're doing. So the insurance companies are putting those discounts together. You can check our website to look at that. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't discuss what you have heard out in the news in regards to State Farm and Allstate not writing new policies, new insurance for homeowners. But I do want to make sure that you have our contact information so you can call us and talk to an expert there. But I want to make sure that you're aware of what is going on with that. I know that that isn't everybody's top of mind, and rather than you just hearing from folks that may not know, I want to make sure that that I address it so that you're aware of what is happening exactly. So what very first and foremost, State Farm is keeping all of their homeowners insurance policies. So if you have State Farm right now, you are not going to lose your policy. You will continue to have insurance, homeowners insurance. What State Farm did is just put the brakes on new business, basically. And in Allstate, what we've learned is that Allstate had already started doing that, or in November, I believe, of last year, that they had also put a pause in their new business. But what we want to make clear is, one, you're not losing your policy if you are covered by either of these companies, and two, that one is a few years ago, Allstate was not writing policies. This happens periodically with insurance companies throughout their book of business. They had not written policies in the state. And the commissioner has been very much so going and talking to insurance companies, working with insurance companies to try to get them to do more policies throughout the state. And so uh, Allstate went from not writing any policies in the state to now having policies in every zip code in the state. So they do have policies throughout the state. um, State Farm was the one company that throughout the time when other insurance companies were doing non-renewals and were starting, and were trying, backpedal and not do so much work in California, State Farm continued to sell, continued to take care of local communities, and we did not. We saw a big jump in the amount of work that State Farm was doing in the state. So they actually were up to 20% of the policies throughout the entire state were with State Farm. So that is why State Farm grew its market share significantly over the past several years. So that is why now they are just putting the brakes on writing new policies. But again, making it clear, Californians are still covered. If you are a current customer with State Farm, you will keep your insurance. So that's just making absolutely clear that you're aware of that. Also, want to make sure that you're aware that insurance companies are not leaving the state. Yet that is something that people are also saying. It's like, oh, we have an insurance crisis, everybody's leaving. They are not leaving the state. California is the largest insurance market in the country and fourth largest in the world. Insurance companies absolutely want to do business in California. One insurance company that left the state was left because they went belly up during the fire in Paradise, and that was the one company that went down, and it was because they were completely saturated in that area, and they did not have enough. Uh, you know, I don't know how do you say that. They were not in any other area, but rather just there. And so when they lost everything. So we are making absolutely sure that that the market continues to be healthy in the state, and that we continue to grow, and we are being covered. I know that for many of you, you have seen your insurance rates go up, and it does not sound good, and it does not sound, and many people are concerned. And so I want you to know that we understand that is, that is anxiety, that gives people anxiety, and it's completely understandable. However, I want you to know that we are not, that people still want to do business in California. People continue to do business in California, and they will not, they will not leave the state. Now, the reason when the commissioner didn't meet with State Farm and they were discussing all of this, what you hear, what you might hear in the media is people are might be saying, oh, it's because they're not allowing us to uh, to charge more, or anything like that. And as we were speaking with State Farm, they very specifically mentioned it. That would not be the thing that would fix, whatever it is that they're dealing with, that they're trying to figure out right now. That there are many other things that they are working through that they need to work on, and so the Department of Insurance does not have the authority or capability to tell State Farm, continue to sell, because that is not part of our purview. However, I do want you to understand, what are the things that State Farm themselves said that that the issues were, and so the issues are very much so climate change throughout the global economy. These companies are not just doing business in California; they are doing business all over the country. They are doing business all over the world, and so those are things that they have been dealing with, and so there's also the issue of the global economy right now. Inflation, global inflation is a real thing that has increased the price of everything. And so we have seen that there, besides all of the issues with climate change, we have an issue with the supply chain. Things are costing so much more to rebuild. And so those are the many things that are happening. That is another reason that State Farm has mentioned that they are, there's those two major things. And then the other thing is that they have also mentioned is, and not just State Farm, but that we know is that the issue of reinsurance, which is basically insurance for the insurance companies throughout the world, has increased tremendously as well. And that they have no control over. And the Department of Insurance in California does not have control over either, because it is not something that we can regulate as well. So those are the reasons that is happening. But I do want you to know that we as Californians are actually moving ahead of the curve. We're working with our local communities to make sure that we bring down the risk. We're working with the insurance companies to, put down regulations that will actually help local communities decrease their risk. And then also making sure that we have transparency so that we are able to see what are the things that are being measured and what can we do to improve those, and how we can come back to insurance companies and say, these are the things that need to be taken into account for me to be able to get the right insurance and pay the right amount of insurance, my proper share of the insurance. And so we continue to work on this. We will continue to work on it with the insurance companies as well, and with you. And so I am happy to be here with you, and absolutely I hope that that explains what is happening in the market, but also want to make sure that we are available to you to answer your questions and to also help you with your particular policies, so that that you have someone within the Department of Insurance that can work with you to find solutions to your problems as well. So with that, I would like to open it. I see that there's a lot in the chat, so I don't know if you want to.
So let's,
go through those.
Julia, thank you very much. We will have an opportunity to have questions for you. Two things that I'd like to do before we do that. Number one, I want to remind everyone, and actually tell Julia that, most of the people here are really glad that you're speaking to us tonight. But at the same time, nobody really has, for the most part, a lot of experience with the Department of Insurance. Their experience is with their insurance provider. And insurance has gone from as much as $400 or $500 a month to as much as $10,000 a month on specific types of properties. Other people are uncertain if they're going to lose their insurance coverage or have lost their insurance coverage and don't know where to go. So I would tell everyone to make sure that you pay attention to what Julia has shared. The phone number that's up on the screen now is extremely important for you. MySafe LA is working with a real estate insurance attorney, and we are going to be able to have a little bit more information for everyone within the next couple of weeks. We're adding an entire section on insurance to our wildfire website, and it will be very helpful along with what's happening with the Department of Insurance. So everyone know that we're taking this all seriously. We just can't fix it all on the 15th of June in 2023. And before we open it up for questions, I'd also like to invite Deputy Chief Rich Fields, who manages Operations West Bureau, to chime in a little bit on what he's seen tonight and how we can look forward to a collaboration that extends beyond just these town hall meetings and helping individual areas. So Chief, if you want to unmute yourself, we'd love to hear from you.
Good evening. Thank you, Dave. Deputy Commissioner, thank you very much for your presentation, and a couple of things that you mentioned were resounding with me. It's that no one individual in a neighborhood can solve the problem, but it really is a community effort. And secondly, that the community is not alone. They have resources at the state level and certainly at the local level in their local fire department. For everyone who is on the call, my name is Richard Fields, as Dave mentioned, and many of the homeowners associations that represented in his latest update are in Operations West Bureau. So I have a vested interest in this collaboration. The threat in Operations West Bureau, obviously, which runs along quite a bit of the Santa Monica Mountains, from basically Hollywood Hills all the way out to the Pacific Ocean and Palisades. A number of communities are threatened and are concerned, but so that you hear also from us that you are not alone. I know that I speak for my other LAFD colleagues who are on the call this evening, who represent possibly the Valley Bureau, South Bureau, as well as Central Bureau. The LAFD is wholly committed to partnering up and enhancing community resilience. The reason that we're committed to efforts like MySafe LA is making with the Wildfire Alliance is because it lines directly in with our strategic plan goal number 7, and that is to enhance community resilience, disaster recovery capabilities, and environmental sustainability. So we take a vested interest and a strong and complete interest in partnering not only with you, not only with the state, but with MySafe LA and any resource that will allow you to be a more educated and a more prepared public. The insurance issue, the insurance question is one that is going to loom on all of us for months and years to come. But again, reiterating the point that was made, is when insurance companies are looking at whether or not to insure, that they are looking at the risk. And the neighborhood councils, the homeowners associations, the individual willingness to do everything possible, not only in education, but do everything possible to harden their homes, to be more educated, to understand what it means to be resilient, and using the resources that you have, like the Los Angeles City Fire Department and MySafe LA, to help you do that, strengthens your case to keep the insurance companies here in California, and at the end, makes you a more safe community, makes you a more knowledgeable community, and at the end, it makes you a stronger partner for your LAFD. So, Dave, and thank you very much for you. I see Carl, Chris, Greg, and the rest of your team. Thank you very much for your continued partnership and commitment to the city of Los Angeles. And I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief. We very much want to be able to open this up to questions. So with that in mind, if you have a question for the Deputy Insurance Commissioner, use the raised hand opportunity so that we can see you and see what's going on, and allow you to then ask your question. Anybody has questions for Julia?
David, if it's okay, I can certainly do. I can see if I can answer one of the questions
Yeah, sure.
that was put on the on the on the chat, and it was why allow insurance companies to cancel the home fire insurance when they make billions, and all of insurance in California and homes in high fire danger zones will become unsellable. Why are they allowed to do other business here? So I wanted to make sure that you were aware that we are because of Proposition 103, which is the way that the Department of Insurance is allowed to oversee the in the market, the insurance industry. It is very much so, like I said at the very beginning, we are not able to tell insurance companies what they can and cannot do in regards to selling insurance. We cannot compel or make insurance companies sell insurance in any way, shape, or form. And if there are particular things that we absolutely take all the ideas that you have, but also, those things are also done through the legislature. And so the legislature is also able to make changes to the insurance code if they would like to do that. So I also suggest, if you have ideas like this, to share them with your local elected officials, that they will be able to also bring that up to the legislature to work on those ideas as well. But just so you know, part of the way that the Proposition 103 allows the Department of Insurance to work, we are not able to we are not able to do that at all.
Gotcha. Eva, why don't you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Okay. So I have a situation where I have a 3-acre horse ranch with two dwellings on it. And I've been covered 17 years with one insurance company and the farm insurance, a Florida-based company. Last year, they dropped me. I tried State Farm, and I had them for a month. They dropped me. And then Allstate, they dropped me. I finally got Farmers, but Farmers covers one dwelling. Then I have to have California Fair Plan to cover the 2 barns where the horses live. And then I still have to have a farm insurance that used to be all in all. And there is the second dwelling that is kind of, I don't even know if it's insured by anything right now. With Farmers, and it's sort of, isn't there a way where your insurance company can sort of cover an entire dwelling? I'm in the Shadow Hills area, so we are high risk, even though I'm on the right side of the dam, but it's very cumbersome and very expensive.
Very expensive. All right, Eva, there you go. Okay, Commissioner?
Yes, absolutely. So that was, that's exactly why the FAIR Plan was created, so that there would be, that is the backstop, the insurance, and that's what the commissioner is actually working towards, to get the FAIR Plan to be able to cover the entire thing for you. So, all of the dwellings. But like I mentioned before, the FAIR Plan only covers just fire, and then you do have to have a difference in conditions policies. So even though we are continuing to work on that with the commissioner, like I said, we are in litigation right now. If you recall, like I mentioned, that the FAIR Plan is actually run by the insurance companies. It is a pool from the insurance companies, and so that is they do not want to have the FAIR Plan be in direct competition with the insurance companies. However, what we are saying is, well, if insurance companies are not going to be selling insurance, then the FAIR Plan is going to have to provide for that. So that's why we are in litigation right now, making sure that, that we follow through to try to get homeowners to have this one insurance company that, handles all of your insurance. So we will continue to fight for that, until we get it done. But just, that is what we're in litigation for right now.
Okay, does anyone else have a question? Your
I
presentation
have
was very
I have
thorough.
a question.
Yep.
Can I, are the policies being written with the up to 20% discount at this point, or we're still waiting for finalization on legislation?
No, there are policies. So right now, all the insurance companies have submitted their rates to the department. You can check the Department of Insurance website to see if your insurance company has submitted their rates filings already, and where are we on those. So there should be there. And so as we review those, we want to make absolutely sure that those are fair for you, that you are not, that consumers are going to be able to get what they need. There's some are going to be, depends on how much mitigation you have done. You can increase the amounts of the percentages that you would be able to get discounts for. But it's very much so, that is an ongoing basis. We expect to be completely done sometime in the fall with all of the rate regulations that have been submitted from all the insurance companies. So we are working on them right now.
Yeah, the problem is, to me, I see the figure of up to 20%. So that's, if I see something on sale at the store and it's up to 20%, I go to the store. Well, it's only 4%. It could have been higher, but we didn't want to be,
Yeah.
So do you think that they're going to adhere to the high end, or is it going to be somewhere in the middle?
It depends on the insurance company. It depends on what they're going to offer. How, what type of mitigation you have done, and what type of mitigation your local community has been working on. So it's going to be all of those things taken into consideration. The commissioner did not go into specifics with the insurance companies because he didn't want them to just give you the bare minimum, right? And then, but rather what we want to do is bring that ability for people to fight for your business. So, which, this will give you the ability to look at who's going to give you the bigger,
Oh,
the bigger
That's right.
discount, or who's going to work with you better, so that you're able to find the right insurance there. That's the whole point of the process too, making sure that it's not it's not as low as it could possibly be, but rather that you get the most out of this. So we don't want to put limits on the insurance companies there as to how much they can do, because we want to see the most amount for you.
thank you for that. Joan, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. So if my HOA were to become a FireWise community and my insurance company claims that it gives a discount for FireWise communities, does that mean that everyone who lives in my HOA who is insured by that carrier should get the same discount? And will get a discount, and B, will get the same discount. And if they don't, can we come to you to help us?
Yes, so that is why I shared the phone number with you, so that you can look into that and then be able to give us a call, and we can help you talk with the insurance companies there. There are FireWise communities were very much so established for that kind of thing, to work together to bring down the risk for entire communities. Also wanted to mention that there are millions of dollars available for mitigation through the state, for that the governor has made available for local communities as well. And we are happy to write a letter of support for your grant applications when you are when you are writing those as well. So please, Carl, you know how to get a hold of me. So if you are, if you are doing that, or you can contact the department and ask for me, and I can certainly, I'd be happy to help with letters of support for that as well. But that's the whole idea of communities working together. So the HOAs, you're already a built-in local community, right? A local, and so it would be easier for you to go and get a FireWise designation, and then your communities around you be able to work with them to do the same. And then that's where if everyone works together to bring down the risk, that's when we can then come back to the insurance companies and say this entire community is safer. There's less risk. There shouldn't be a reason why you wouldn't insure them. So that's where that's the idea behind all of this.
And let me just jump in here and add to what Julia said. There's really two kinds of components to all of this. There's the community component, which may make you qualified to be a FireWise site or a fire safe council, but it takes in community issues. Separately from that, if you want to qualify for insurance discounts for your home will need to meet a specific set of home hardening parameters that are actually reviewed through an inspection. So then that's separate from Assembly Bill 38, which is the requirement to have an inspection anytime a home is sold or transferred to ownership. So one of the things that MySafe LA is here to do is to help you understand the difference between those two things and how you can make sure that your community, as a community, qualifies. Because one of the number one questions we get, Julia, from the many HOAs that we work with is, my home, I've invested in it, it's hardened, but the guy across the street won't do anything and he won't respond to us and he thinks we're out to get him. So we have to walk that fine line of encouraging and creating incentive for people to participate. But at the same time, people are often concerned that they're doing their part and someone else in the community within which they live is not. So that's a big part of what we're working on. We don't have an answer tonight for all of this, but that's why we have a real estate attorney coming on board with our organization. It's why we work so closely with fire agencies and insurance companies. So everyone don't feel that this is the end of the road. In many ways, this is the beginning of the road.
Thank you.
And we'd like to have you back in the future as things progress, with the legislation and the insurance companies, to give us updates as you can.
Absolutely, we're happy to. We do have, this is an ongoing issue, and we want to make absolutely, we want to partner with you to help inform local communities. We have the information for the Safer from Wildfires framework that we can share, and we're happy to go do that. If you have a local community group that you would like to have us come and do a presentation, to them specifically, we're happy to, to do that as well. So please reach out to us, and we are, we have local liaisons for all the different communities within the state, with all throughout the counties. So we're delighted to partner with you on this. So thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. Before we move on, do any of our fire service partners who are on tonight have any questions? Because you guys get asked all the time about what's happening with insurance, and you may or may not want to raise questions, but if you want to, specifically from the Los Angeles City Fire Department or any other agency that's on board, if you have questions, this is a great time to ask.
Commissioner,
Go ahead.
Commissioner, this is Jamie Moore, Assistant Chief of Los Angeles Fire Department. I just want to thank you for sharing your knowledge and the information and giving us some background, because we do get asked these questions quite often, and it's nice to hear it right from the source as to those individuals who are helping members in our community address this issue with insurance. So thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I want to make myself available too for you, the departments, when you are out talking to different communities as well. And I know that you make presentations all the time. We would love to partner with you as well. and come along to some of those if you were, if you're having those as well. So please reach out to us, and we are, we're happy to do that as well.
Terrific.
We'll take you up on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So one last question, and Karen Maxwell
Yes,
and her partner there.
thank you so much. Deputy Commissioner, thank you so much for your presentation tonight. It was very, very interesting and very informative. So I want to thank you so much for being here tonight. Very helpful. And the work you're doing is so important. I did want to let you know, however, that many of us have been getting canceled. And even though maybe the companies have given you their assurance that they would not do those cancellations, that has happened to us on 2 properties in California that both were covered by Allstate. So it's just important for you to know that that is occurring. And sort of the process that they go through is to give a set of very unreasonable and unachievable demands that are things that maybe are even things you could never achieve because we don't even, if they're, some of those items are not even on our property or they're on a neighbor's property. And because that's the case, I think that that's the justification that they use for the cancellation, is saying, well, we gave you these stipulations and you couldn't solve. So therefore, you're out. And now really the situation in the field is that, the FAIR Plan has not become a backup plan while you shop. FAIR Plan has become the only option. So the other thing I would just ask is that as you look at FAIR Plan and continuing to improve it, it is no longer a plan for a backup plan for many of us. Okay, so those are my things. And then the other thing too, I think that John Binder put onto thing is, I know that you can't compel insurance companies to sell in certain areas. It seems to me that you could regulate and say that unless you are able to comply with these particular regulations, then you cannot sell here. So I think the point is, rather than saying you should compel them to sell, if you could limit their availability, and if they are unwilling to provide equal coverage to all homeowners in California, why not say then you get none of California? And whereas you cannot compel them to sell, you could regulate and say you must comply if you want to sell. So I think that's sort of our feeling from the community, is to say if you want access to this state, which is your 4th best market in the universe, thou shalt sell to everybody, and thou shalt not restrict your coverage. It's all or none.
Yeah.
So.
No, thank you. Thank you for those. We are very much so looking at the FAIR Plan as, at all the issues with the FAIR Plan, to try to find solutions for everyone, because we do understand that, 1, it is not fair, and 2, that it has become the only insurance available for some folks. Our hope is that as we make the market, improve conditions and bring down the risk, that we will be able to get then more insurance writing, and so that's the idea, that the hope that they all then start really competing for your business as well. So we will continue. So thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And thank you, Deputy Commissioner, for being here. We absolutely will follow up with you, and we look forward to how we might collaborate to help everyone in the greater Los Angeles area as we move forward, and also in Riverside, because we cover all of Riverside as well. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. So for all of our attendees tonight, we're at an hour and 15 minutes. And I know that most of you came here specifically because you wanted to hear from the Deputy Commissioner. So I think it's a really, really important topic. There's just a question from John and Carla. Has the state bought any firefighting planes? CAL FIRE has a remarkable Air Force related to firefighting, both in fixed wing and rotor wing aircraft. So to answer your question, yes, there is a tremendous number of aircraft available. Also in the Los Angeles area, the Los Angeles Fire Department has a remarkable Air Operations Group flying Augusta Wylam 139 aircraft, which can be used both as air ambulances and as wildfire fighting machines. And the County of Los Angeles also has a firefighting cadre that is airborne. So there's a lot of aircraft that can work against wildfires, whether they be terrain driven or wind driven. And they're a very critical part of the overall process. So thanks for your question, John and Carla. So since everyone kind of came to hear this and we're over an hour and 15 minutes, my thought is that we'll push our history component for this month into July so that we can take into thought what exactly it is that we're thinking about a little bit more carefully and thoughtfully. But one thing that I do want to talk about briefly before we end for the day is an important topic that we're right in the center of, and that is fireworks. Because fireworks is a really important part of the Los Angeles kind of environment. We're already seeing a lot of fireworks being used. Last week, the largest bust of fireworks in the city's history took place. 38,000 pounds of fireworks were confiscated. It was done very carefully. There were no accidents. There were no problems there. And what's important is because there was more than 5,000 pounds of fireworks involved, it became a felony arrest. If you have 100 pounds or 500 pounds, it's still a misdemeanor at this point in time. So it was good for us to be able to make sure that this was increased to a felony status. As a reminder, all fireworks are illegal in the city of Los Angeles. There are a number of unincorporated and small cities outside, 29 of them, that do allow the sale of safe and sane fireworks. We are often asked, what's the difference between safe and sane and other fireworks? And it's very simple. If it flies, if it explodes, it's illegal statewide in every single jurisdiction. So if it spins on the ground or if it sparkles, it may be safe and sane, but it is not legal in the city of Los Angeles. That means you cannot transport them from Alhambra or Costa Mesa or any place where you can buy them into the city. You absolutely cannot transfer them to a minor or to anyone else, and you can't use them. So our advice is, rather than telling you about all the fines and problems, is to say, leave fireworks to the professionals, go see a public show. On our website in the next day or so will be a list of public shows. LAFD.org will also be posting an updated list of public shows. And if you're at all curious or need help related to this, we're always ready to help you. MySafe LA has been involved with over 50 schools and rec and parks groups this season. And we provide all the banners you see out of fire stations and out of police stations, and all of the stuff that you'll see at LAUSD and other places, and that council members are distributing. So it's a very, very important topic. If you live in Council District 1 or anywhere on the east side of LA, we're looking at doing a town hall meeting about fireworks on the 29th of June. And we will make that available, that information available to everyone who's attended tonight, so that you can join that if you're interested. But fireworks are a big issue. And in addition to free fireworks shows, be aware that council member for CD7, Monica Rodriguez, has a fireworks buyback program, which will take place on the 1st of July. And also at Hanson Dam, there will be a laser light show, which is kind of like going from internal combustion engines to electric cars. So we're going from fireworks to lasers. Last year, the show was a lot of fun and very interesting for anyone who's never seen that sort of thing before. So you might also consider going out to Hanson Dam on the 4th of July. So thank you everyone for that. So our next meeting is July 20th at 7 p.m. as it always is. We'll move our Sayre Fire history discussion to that meeting. And reminder, this is all free. Everything that we're doing has no cost. Because we're a nonprofit, we do gladly accept donations, but it's no quid pro quo. You're not required in any way, shape, or form to pay for our participation. And we're very, very pleased that you've attended tonight. Hopefully this has been really helpful. Before we sign off, if anyone has any comments they'd like to make or any questions, please raise your hand and we'll give you a moment to say something or to ask a question on any wildfire related topic, whether you be from one of our partners or from the public. So this is a chance for you to talk about anything, not just insurance. Okay, okay. So George, unmute yourself and ask your question. We can only see your LAFD cap, by the way.
Hi, yeah, thank you. I texted a comment, but I go ahead and since I've got the mic, I'd like to give a shout out to the LA Fire Department's Auxiliary Communication Service. My name is George Denny. Call sign is WR2D, and I'm a member of the South Bureau of the LAFD ACS. We're all licensed volunteer ham operators. We're trained in and we support the LAFD in emergency communications. We have 3 emergency comm radio stations actually within the EOC. You have to go into the EOC to get into our radio room. And we operate from there Monday nights, every Monday night at 7:30, I believe. And we're going to be operating 24 hours from 11 o'clock Saturday the 24th through the night to 11 o'clock Sunday morning at Fire Station 109 up on Mulholland Drive. And it's an opportunity to see us at work. We'll be operating multi-modes, Morse code, voice, various frequencies. It's quite a happening and quite a lash up. And we use the helicopter platform to put up some of our larger antennas. So anyway, you can learn a little bit more about us if you Google lafdacs.org. And in an emergency, we are always on the air.
Thank you, George. And as an update, the drone show at the Hanson Dam is on the 2nd, not on the 4th. Runs from 5 in the evening until 9 at night, but it is on the 2nd, which is a Sunday. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, everyone. I think this is a great time for us to say thank you, and we appreciate all of your time and your effort to participate in this tonight. If you have questions, feel free to email us. We have forms that you can fill out for contact and information in our website, mysafela.org. And we will be sending out our July agenda at the end of the first week in July, so in about 10 days. But we really look forward to your continued attendance. We hope these town hall meetings are useful for you. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great evening. Be safe out there. Good night.